am Tommy, and you are on the lifeboat. Uh-oh. I have made an error. I knew I was forgetting something. Glasses. Oh, man, Lisa's going to yell at me. John Scoville, you see any glasses out there?
No, I saw them already. I saw them. Not aware I saw them.
Yeah, well.
no.
Alrighty, did you? No, they are not. All right, people. I am the Admiral, and you are on the lifeboat. So, if you've been around for any length of time, this is going to seem like a reunion tour because a lot of you found me because I was talking about this low life in the first place. That would be Danny Masterson I am referring to. So, this is going to be a trip down memory lane for a lot of you. All right? In the meantime, shall we say hello to some friends? I think we should. Let this place fill up. Sandy Wendy, good to see you. Jason P, what's happening? Hey, Miss Dragon, good to see you, sister. Vanessa, how are you? Good to see you. From Sweden. Love that. Love that. Sandy Wendy, Lisa Trimble, good to see you. What's happening? Glad you're here. You just kicked your own ass. I kind of respect that. And you know what? Squats will do that to you, man. You did 51 squats. I've done 100 squats. I think it was 2017 or 2018. I don't mean all at once. I'm talking about over the course of the year. I'm not silly. I don't want to remind you of your age, but pace yourself. I would anyway. Haley, how are you? Snake, good to see you. Carrie, how are you? Carol Barnhart, the nurse who loved me. I'm glad you're here. And from Mass, what's up? Hey, you know what? I appreciate you guys being here. Hey, Snake, and spending time with me. This is the holiday season, and you know what? Some of you are stepping away from family and friends to do this. And some people don't have anyone to step away from. And I really appreciate everyone taking time to come here and hang out. The Arabian Bard, good to see you. Arwa, Tommy Bird, how you been? Dawn Davies, Deadhead. How often do you hear references to Ray Davies? Do people ever ask you if you're related to the guy from the Kinks? Love the Kinks. Deadhead, good to see you. Faye, what's up? Diane Reese, good to see you. Laker Dog. How you been, Laker Dog? Good to see you. Feisty Kitty. Glad you're here. James Collins Cares. Good to see you, brother. How are you doing? Brenda, glad you're here. Hello, Diane. Ian Wallace. Aspire to inspire. Good to see you. Brian Bowen. I am glad to see you, my brother. Good to have you here. Leanne, what's happening? Cat, lady from the country. There's Johnny Scoville. I know this cat. If you guys do not know who Johnny Scoville is, shame on you. He is the purveyor of all things pepper. He is a guy that he brought the hot back to the whole heat thing. How do you lose a pair of glasses? I just don't feel particularly intelligent, if you want to know the truth. That's all right. We'll get through this. We're going to get through this, people. I promise we are. Season's greetings. I'm glad you're here. True. Danny Masterson is how you found the boat. That kind of doesn't surprise me. Joe Mama, good to have you here. Hey, Crafty Witch. Taylor Miller, hey you. Ann Brown. Another depraved Kutcher pal. You know something? You're going to see a show about that shortly. I promise you. I'm sorry to hear that you had insomnia, but I'm sure happy to see that we can be here. If you're not sleeping, this is the place to be. Shannon K says, hey, Tommy, watched Reese's story last night. So much respect. Y'all really are fighting the good fight. She's really been through it. You know, she really has. And never lost her sense of humor in any way, which is kind of amazing. Angie Campos, how are you? Hi, Tommy. You're so funny. I lose my glasses all the time. You know what? You enjoy listening to the both of us. I love that. I really do. That's fantastic. It is a great place, is it not? Huh? Hey, Jillian Daniels, how you been? DP in Tennessee. In Tennessee. I love Tennessee, by the way. I really do. It's a beautiful state. I can't think of anything about Tennessee I don't like. I'll be honest. You know what? If it was 20 minutes away. Yeah, I don't like its proximity to Arizona. There, you got it. Other than that, though, I dig it. Lula, how you been? Finishing getting the house ready for Mom to fly in tonight. It's the first time she's visiting since we moved 4 years ago. Yee! Are you feeling any pressure? Don't be. We're just family, right? You know what's funny as hell? I'm gonna tell this story, and maybe I shouldn't, but I will anyway. But I was talking to my girlfriend, and she was in Scientology for a long time. You guys, most of you know her story. So these are holidays she's never celebrated. She's not done the Christmas thing, and she's not done the Thanksgiving thing or any of this. So she just had like her first Thanksgiving, and she said, I just kind of thought it was going to be way different. I was really excited about it. And I was like, what? It wasn't a good time. And she said, just seems like, there was people weren't really gelling and getting along. And it seemed like, old stuff from the past, everyone was kind of just sort of backbiting. And I was like, that is Thanksgiving. What the hell are you talking about? It's exactly what Thanksgiving is. That's everyone's Thanksgiving. I mean, come on. There's no such thing as a family that's not, what's the word I'm looking for? Dysfunctional. Vixen, good to see ya. Hey, Iron Rabbit. Corona. Na 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 na. V. McWilliams, how you been? Coming in from growing up in Scientology during DM, but now, if both of you are alive at the same time, Anka, what a cool thing to say. Thank you. What a kind thing to say. I appreciate that. You know what? There's a great audience here, man. We really do have the best of the best. And sure, it's a shameless plug, but I do absolutely mean it. I wouldn't do this if I didn't have a group of people that I liked hanging out with. Right? The holidays are hard on me. I've been super honest about that. Right? This is not a time that I don't get this easy. I really don't. This is hard on me every year, and I know that there's a lot of people every year. There are new people that join the ranks of this year's going to suck. Right? That tradition where, unfortunately, people will be facing holidays alone or different. Right? Somebody breaks up, somebody moves, somebody passes away. We lose a furry member of the family, or any of those things. They make this time of year tough. So every once in a while, if we get the opportunity to throw a karmic bitch slap at someone that needs it, it might just cheer you up. So we are going to be talking about something that I said a long time ago. I'm not going to talk about on this channel. However, I also said I wouldn't talk about it unless the story was actually a story. Because what happens is a lot of times, if you get a subject and you do well with it, right? And I did well with Danny Masterson. A lot of subscribers came in when I was talking about that. I was at the sentencing, which was cool. I got to meet a lot of the players in this, which was an amazing honor. But I felt like I was starting to get to a point where all I was doing was figuring out a way to talk about this dude because it was good for views. And some of the stories that were coming out didn't make any sense to me as a convict. There were people talking about, he got attacked on the way to the chow hall while 3 cops were escorting him. There's no way in hell, people. I'm sorry. The kind of stuff doesn't happen, right? And not because you couldn't get a psycho or whatever, but the person would have been ordered to go do that. Somebody would have said, all right, you got to go. They don't want to ever do stuff like that when there are cops involved. They usually try to be as far away from cops. The stories just didn't make sense. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to talk about this cat again unless there's something to talk about. So precisely why we are gathered here today, there is something to talk about. Danny Masterson, for those who are unaware of who this cat is, that would be a shocker. But you never know who comes across this. We're in a lot of countries. Danny Masterson gained popularity on a television show called That 70s Show, which was it was a cool show. It tried to capture the 1970s and have kids, young kids play it. And it was, for those of us of a certain age, it was magic to watch because there's just a lot of references from our youth. And it was, I grew up, the 70s were when I was a little kid, and it was fun. It was a fun show. Unfortunately, it starts to look like a lot of the people on that cast, Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis. In fact, it looked like everybody on that cast seemed to have some smoke that surrounded them, right? The kid that played Fez, we did a show on him. He went on Howard Stern and talked about some really rank stuff and embarrassed a lot of women. And he was sleeping with people that were underage, right? A lot of people that were underage. Danny Masterson. Well, and it's funny that you say that, right? Because I hear people all the time go, man, he's in there. He hasn't gotten his ass kicked, man. I thought he was going to get, I have said this from Jump Street. Pay attention, everybody, in case you didn't catch this the first 55 times. A guy can get into prison and he can get away with living that life as an R-word dude, as a guy that S8. He can fall into a pattern where he can live. If he's a super weirdo, if he's one of these people that messed with kids, they can get in there. They'll find a niche. They'll get a groove. They'll stare at the ground. They will do what they can to blend in with a specific crowd of people that they feel safe within. And it'll work until it doesn't. Right? And it could take, and it's funny, people, because I've been doing this a minute, and people used to say all the time about the Larry Nassar, right? He's just in there having a good time. I said to people, look, man, you don't understand this system. He is not having a good time, right? Nobody with those crimes are in there having a good time. And if you hear that, I can't attest to all 50 states, but that dude's in the feds. I promise you, man, he ain't having a good time. So it took a minute. It did. The first attack on him, I think it was probably 4 or 5 months in, 6 months in before anybody heard about it. But since then, Larry Nassar has been getting punched, beat, kicked, perforated, right? This dude's not having a good time. And every time he hits a yard, somebody gets in there and does their business. And then it's out. Jenny, you like the hat and the sweatshirt? Nice. And look at this, man. I was trying to match this. See, now, I don't want my girl going, man, you wore a purple, you kind of got I get this thing matched. This, people, this is I'm wearing. It's normally something that I wear when I talk about Diddy. Danny Masterson was a member of the new Rat Pack, right? So these guys build themselves as the new Rat Pack. And this new Rat Pack consisted of Danny Masterson, right? Ann Brown says people like Masterson know who to suck up to. They absolutely do. And he's dropping cash, I promise. He's also spreading money around to everybody, right? Guaranteed he is. And that's the smart play, right? It's a terrible thing to have to say, but every once in a while, think about this through the eyes of a scumbag. Topher Grace never got in any trouble, says Donna, and I'll tell you something. That's a fact. In fact, looking back on it, you start to go, that was a really good dude, right? That was a good dude. Apparently, he eschewed it. He didn't hang out with these people for anything. They would go out every night. They owned a bar or a nightclub that they had gone in on, so that they had a place to go party. Jamie Foxx was there. Diddy was there. Ashton Kutcher, Danny Masterson, and the guy that played Fez. Someone's got to help me with the guy that played Fez. Corner 3. Who played Fez in that 70s show? That's Google right there, man. It's the pepper Google, right? Now you say, yo, Siri. I say, yo, Capsaicin. Did his wife divorce him? You're talking about Wilder Valderrama. Now, did his wife divorce him? If you are talking about Danny Masterson's wife, right? Bijou Phillips. Yes, she absolutely did. The second that she rode with it through the trial, it almost looks like she was waiting to see whether or not he would be found guilty or not. Joe Mama asks, was the old Rat Pack as bad as this one? You know what? Probably. I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk, and I'm not trying to cloud up anybody's reputation. But, we didn't know. At the time, stars it's different now, with cell phones and with the society we live in where everybody can have a voice. Back then, if something happened to you like that, and you could go to the press and say, this Diddy guy did this to me, and they could have gone, yeah, we don't really want to, we're not covering that story. I mean, think about how different it was. So what, was this a situation where that happened back then? It might have, but we know for Valder, there you go, Izzy. Thank you. Wilder Valderrama was the other one, right? So yes. Tara Jackson, people put stuff like this in my chat all the time, and usually it's really out in left field, and I got to go, well, there's an opinion. No, this cat was a card-carrying member of the Satanic Church. He absolutely was. That, truthfully, is a thing. So much unseen back then, says Joe Mama, and that's a fact. There was so much that you could get away with back in the day, and you can't anymore. Do me a favor. If you're familiar with the Danny Masterson trial and what took place, give me a deuce in the chat. And if you don't know what took place, you don't know why he's in prison for 30 years, give me a 3. Because I can go over the history of this case, but I'd much rather get into the appeal. If Tara Jackson says, I dig facts. I'm a fan myself, right? Okay, so we all know this. Most of us know this. Danny Masterson's, this is what is alleged. It was alleged that Danny Masterson used chemicals, right? To do basically what we're watching with Diddy, what we're watching with the Alexander brothers out of Florida. People who give a chemical to a person to incapacitate them so that they can then force themselves onto these people. Hey, Rick, what's up, brother? And that's what Danny Masterson did. And he did it to a lot of victims. And it wasn't, the guy called himself, his affectionate nickname for himself was Donkey Punch. And if you don't know what that reference is to, then that would be great. But it's literally makes reference to punching a woman in the side during intercourse to cause her lower regions to tighten up during the process. Can you imagine being comfortable telling people that that's your nickname? This is a sick bastard. I mean, honestly, you get this. And these attacks were vicious. They were vicious. And he was able to hide underneath the radar at the cult of Scientology because they got this thing that you don't call the cops on a Scientologist. It's not how it's done. It doesn't happen, right? You're theta. You're not part of these, what do they call us? Skin bags or meat sacks or some such crap. You're not part of that world. We don't deal with them. We can deal with it in-house. We're going to deal with this in-house, right? And they go to arbitration and they do things like that. And it was, this cult protects people who are famous. Okay? They have an image that they try to uphold. And it's this image that, I mean, look where they have a celebrity center. Raise your hand if your church has a celebrity center, right? Come on. Your church must have a celebrity center. The craziest, weirdest thing that ever, right? But they have a celebrity center and they really recruit people. This was not by accident. Hey, Russ, this was something that LRH was doing by design, right? This is how he was going to build this church. And and people like Tom Cruise and people like Nicole bailed, right? She was in there for a minute. What's the name of the pilot? John Travolta and his wife before she passed. Kirstie Alley. There's a lot of there used to be a hell of a lot more. Scientology isn't growing the way it's supposed to, and a lot of people. There are a lot of people that believe it's way smaller than they claim. Over on Growing Up in Scientology, that's the Aaron Smith Levin channel. If you've never seen that, he's sort of the tip of the spear in the anti-Scientology arena. It's definitely the guy that is known to be the sort of the titular head, I guess, of this group. And he will. He said that his estimates were below 30,000. Right? It's not a lot of people when you consider the amount of money that this church is sitting on. They're going to be needing to bring in people, right? Every single one of these operations, whether it's the Royal Order of Jesters or whether it is the cult of Scientology or any other friggin' cult or control group, has to bring new blood in constantly, right? Has to. Or you end up with a very aged, right, population among your cult. That won't fly. And that's basically, I think, what's happening with a lot of these control groups that have been around forever. They did not count on this. Right? Italy watching Blue Waters. I love it. Love it. Italy's fantastic. Didn't Ashton Kutcher and his wife write a reference letter to the judge before the sentencing of Masterson? Oh, they did, Bill. And it was an absolute abortion. They wrote a letter. If you just listened to it, right, you would be without clue that this guy had ever done anything other than walk on water, right? Heal the sick. They talked about him in ways, you talk about tone deaf. And then when they did their statement afterwards where they apologized, Kutcher said, hey, we kind of thought this was just for the judge. Right? What are you saying? We just didn't think it was going to get out. If we thought it was going to get out, we sure as hell wouldn't have done that. Leah Remini showed a life we never knew, and God bless her for that. There's been infighting among the factions that are fighting the cult of Scientology, and that's a bummer. It really is, at least for those observing from the outside. I think it's a bummer because the cult is so friggin' foul. I'm sure that they high five when the people who are fighting it are squabbling among themselves. But Leah has done some pretty amazing things, in my opinion. I know that there are other people that may disagree. Makes you wonder if Masterson wasn't involved in the murder of the girl Kutcher knew. Oh, because he was meeting that. No. So they have convicted the person that did that. The sad part of that story is, and if you don't know what Anna's talking about, Ashton Kutcher once went to pick up a girl that he had been dating for a short period of time to go out. When he got there, according to his statement, he got there, he knocked, didn't hear, looked in the window, saw some spilt wine on the carpet, ended up taking off, like that kind of thing. From the window, now the spilt wine would have been blood, right? That's what he was alleging. From any window in the house, it was impossible to see where the blood stain was. Like this is not allegedly. This is from not one spot outside the house could you see where she had bled. You had to have been inside the house to see that. He walked in, he saw her, he walked outside, and then allegedly called Danny Masterson. But that woman was a victim of the California or the Hollywood Ripper, I think is what they were calling him. He was a serial killer that had preyed on women in Hollywood, and they got him. But if he had played ball, they probably would have had him before then. They knew who it was. They just kind of needed help. It's a really disgusting. For me, this is what it comes down to. For me, I'm left there going, so your first thought was, oh my God, my career. You're going to hell. And if you don't believe that there's a hell, then you're going wherever you believe it's crappy. Because if you see someone who you may have kissed and put an arm around, forget even a perfect stranger, but this is a person he's been hanging out with, been holding hands with this chick. Then he walks in and sees her lying in a pool of blood on the floor, and his first thought is, well, I'm really gonna do a number on my career. I better call my best friend and get his advice. He's a Scientologist, he'll know what to do. And then I better call my agent, right? And then we'll figure out if we're gonna do that 911 thing. He's a bad human being. Sorry, it's my humble opinion. And I'm sticking with it. So we have an appeal that's going on currently for Danny Masterson. Last year, he got sentenced to 30 years in prison, right? And he got sentenced for using chemicals, DRD, right? Chemicals to incapacitate women and then violently assault them. When one of the Jane Does found out that there were other Jane Does, when those Jane Does found out that they were not the only people, you understand that he preyed on Scientologists. And since these Scientologists were not going to the police, right? You could have 9 victims that did not know about each other, right? You could have all of these people who've been victimized by him, but the church keeps cult. I'm sorry, I hate saying that. The cult keeps sweeping this thing under the rug, right? But once they found out about each other, all bets were off. Now they realized that not only was this not just one of those things or a mistake that this guy made, right? They are at this point all members of a cult, and they believe, right? They are special and they're all part of this. He made a mistake. Maybe they can audit that crap out or whatever. But once you realize that that's not a mistake, that this is a abhorrent part of who this low life is, Captain Donkey Punch. Well, at that point, they did the most heroic thing possible, right? Especially one in particular who had already signed a non-disclosure with this cat as part of a settlement. And she knew that virtually every single time she mentioned his name or brought this stuff out, that she could be burying herself, right? $250,000 every single time she talked about it. In theory, that's what she was opening herself up to. But it was the right thing. And I'll tell you what, I met these women, and they're the most courageous people you would ever meet. I mean that. It's it was an honor, and it was amazing. I met them at the sentencing, and I also got to go to a protest with them as well. Months later, and they're just incredible people. James says Danny may get out after his bank has been drained by inmates. He may leave in a body bag. Well, there's probably something to that, right? His appeal has no legal merit. Well, you know what? We're going to have a lot of fun with this. He is, here's in his lawyer's defenses, right? And I was married to an attorney. I'm no fan of attorneys. But in the attorneys, I'm kidding. I really am. I was married to an attorney, but I don't hate them. They have to do this. They have to do this, right? Everybody appeals. Everybody appeals, especially the only time you're not going to appeal, right? The only time you see inmates is just go, all right, screw it, and they go lay it down, is if you copped a plea, right? Especially in the feds, right? If you cop a plea, part of that plea is part of the plea deal, because you're facing 50, they give you 25. That's a deal, right? In their eyes, that's a deal. We're not going to take you to court. We know absolutely that we can prosecute you and that we can convict you, but we cut you a deal, we cut you a break, right? Who is this guy? Well, if you're talking about me, my pal Sal Vintage, I'm Tommy Scoville. If you're talking about the person we're talking about, Danny Masterson, he was an actor that had been in, he's done a lot of films, but he's probably most famous for being on That show. And he was convicted last year, multiple counts of R-wording women using chemicals to do it, right? Putting stuff in their drink, knocking them out, and taking advantage of them. Correct. Automatically life sentences, and the death sentence gets automatic appeals. To be sure, Russ is right. But the reason that the reason they're appealing is because this is a guy with a ton of money, and they're looking for a pipe dream, right? That's what the guys inside will say. Like a guy will go, hey man, I got an appeal going through, and they'll go, ooh, give me a hit of that pipe dream. Let me hit that thing, because the fellas know not too many appeals get one. This is an article in Rolling Stone talking about Danny Masterson attacks the grape victims in new oversized appellate brief, right? Danny Masterson submitted a massive, admittedly oversized appeal brief in his California R case Wednesday that challenges the credibility of his victims and claims a series of trial court errors requires the reversal of his 2023 conviction. The 246-page filing obtained by Rolling Stone has yet to be accepted by the state's Court of Appeals, but it lays out the arguments he believes are his best shot at overturning his 2 forcible R convictions and sentence of 30 years to life. If the court denies this request to extend his word limit, the brief will be edited down to by his appellate lawyer, Cliff Gardner. Tells Rolling Stone, as it stands, the brief is 59,850 words. The limit, less than half of that, at 25,500. Hello, you're long-winded. You want to hear the gist of it, though? Here's what we're getting at. They're saying that the only reason that they decided, right, the Jane Does, the reason that they decided to do this is because they really wanted his money. Right? They really wanted his money. But the only way that they were going to be able to sue, because the statute of limitations was too late on that. So the only way that they were going to be able to sue was by getting a conviction. Because if you get a conviction, right, the clock starts to tick and a person has the ability to sue from the date of the conviction. This is their, by the way, hump theory of why this is what they're using as the appellate theory for why this is going to, you can't, got to give this guy a new trial. Got to give this guy. By the way, there's also, they think that there was evidence that could have been exculpatory that really would have helped Danny. Unfortunately, that evidence wasn't allowed in. And the people that have that evidence, sadly, have passed away. I mean, what do you want the court to do? Dig these people up? Sorry about your luck, right? That's as long as the novel I'm editing, says Barbara. Yeah, right? I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. Hello, Anna. But what's more ridiculous is this. I mean, holy hell, people. You could be, I'm not a lawyer. Right? I was a convicted felon. I'm here because I robbed banks. Right? There are way smarter people than me out there. But a first-year law dropout or a second-day paralegal can get on a computer and look up to find out that prior to this, there was a grace period legally in California that covered the distance of space. The Jane Does did not need to take him to court in order to sue them. Plain and simple. And this is not splitting the atom. This isn't Nostradamus stuff. You can just go and look the crap up and see the law, right? It gives the people a rear view mirror, the ability to go, all right, 2 years, whatever it is. But there's a grace period in order to do this. So, and even if there wasn't, I mean, that's some thin crap. Well, we decided to take him to court and put ourselves through all of this, right? Just so that we had a shot at suing. And you go, God, so stupid, Tommy. Why? Well, you know what? What's your other option? What's your other option? There's not much here you can go after. When you file appeals, right? When you're a convict and you file appeals, especially when you're guilty as sin, what you have to do is you got to find something where they screwed up massively, right? You got to find something where the court did something they shouldn't have done, right? On the record, the judge made a mistake and allowed this to take place, which shouldn't have. So we get another shot at this. We get a new trial. That's usually what you're going for, right? There's nothing there. There's just no there. And while I was at the sentencing, right, Danny's attorney got up and started to do his thing. And before the actual process started, his appellate lawyers, 2 of them, got up and started asking questions of the judge. And I remember leaning over to the woman that I was sitting with and said, "Who the hell is this? This isn't his." And she said, "Oh no, he's already hired the appellate attorneys, and they're asking questions concerning." They were starting the appeal that day. You know, if not, well, we knew they were starting it that day because it was out in the open, but they were probably working on it before that. This is the fade back and toss that puppy up as high as you can, right? Hope that a running back runs underneath it. You all familiar with the Hail Mary in football? This is your last shot. Look, this guy ain't getting out. And I know that we're so used to getting the rug yanked the hell out from underneath us, right? We're so used to saying to getting beat that way. Oh, Linus Lou, what a kind thing to say. I really appreciate that. You know what it is? Maybe that's not the right way to say it. There are people who are far more educated on the law than I am. You say that there are way smarter people than you. I used to work with many lawyers. If I need a solicitor in this area of law, I'd much rather instruct you up to the stage where a lawyer is needed. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. He's got a Buckley's chance of getting out. Here's his biggest problem. Honestly, here's his biggest problem. He had a snowball in hell chance, right, of an appeal of any kind going through or whatever. It needed to happen in a very different environment than the one that he's going to find himself in, right? You know what I mean by this? What I mean by this is the whole world is talking about men, right, who did things to boys, girls, men, and women with the use of chemicals. The whole world is hyper-focused on this, hyper-fixated. We have 3 human tea cases going on at the same time in the country, and all of them are rich, and all of them are famous, right? What's up? This is not an environment you want to be coming back on appeal in front of a judge where you used a chemical to essay multiple people, and the world knows there's a hell of a lot more of them that you did this to. No, this was not good timing for him. For the good guys, this timing is as good as it gets. Right? This is how it's supposed to be. And I'll tell you what, there are things that we don't think about as normal people because we live in a normal world, right? But here's something that you should think about if you don't live in a normal world. There is a whole group of people right now who every single day are getting on their phone and they're watching on the internet people talk about what a freak that Diddy is and what a lowlife all of the people in this orbit and how Voldemort is sending people down there with fake badges. They're in this. They're watching this religiously, right? Now, at the same time, they're mail ordering a little Bolivian marching powder to some friends of theirs up in New England, right? Or they're busting a batch of the trailer park marching powder out in the back, making some crystal, whatever. The point is this: we tend to think of people in prison as people who are like, well, they've been there forever. They got no idea. There are people who are going to know everything about this case who are going to get busted tomorrow. There are people who are going to know everything about this case who are going to get busted in 2 weeks. And those inmates go into prison and they become the mouthpiece of people that go in and go, bro, you got no idea, right? How bad this is. You should see the crap. They're talking about eggs, and and guys will start. It is really bad, right? They call it inmate.com. That's what the fellas refer to it as, right? Inmate.com. And inmate.com is normally BS, right? Really vicious falsehoods. Not because they want it to be, but because once a fool starts telling a story and he tells it to his cellie, and his cellie goes, oh my God, you're not going to believe this crap. So there's musicians, and they got to get an ostrich egg, and they got to get it jammed up there. And the next dude's going, bro, no joke. They got this watermelon thing that they do, right? And 4 guys already ended up in the hospital. And it happened to Bieber, right? These are how these prison is going to be unbelievable for the people that are going in, because it changes a joint. I'm not joking, right? All of the people that would be like, they're just doing big things. They're pimping. The word pimping is going to get a lot less use in prison, I promise you. Now, it's never been real popular among the Peckerwoods anyway, but it's among the white guys. But there is, I don't know if the rest of you feel this, but there is a paradigm shift going on currently in this country. People are talking about things they don't like talking about. People are demanding answers and asking questions that they never would have asked. We are forcing people to get outside their comfort zones, right? We're forcing people to listen to us about things that they don't want to listen to us about. It's a beautiful damn thing. I promise you it is. Motherbird63, thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, honestly. Now, I know all of us are concerned about a guy like this getting paper, right? Or a guy like this getting a shot at another trial, right? No one wants to see that. But the court system, as much as it's a series of people reading laws and looking at it out of law books, there's also a hell of a lot, right? There's also a hell of a lot of real life going on, right? Judges, prosecutors, everybody. Do you realize that there's nobody right now in our country, and I would bet the world, because of the audience that we talk to on a regular basis around the world, you've got people who are yelling about stuff, right? You got people who are going, you know what? This doesn't work anymore, man. It doesn't work anymore. I feel the paradigm shift. I do too. I really do. It's funny. I had someone over for dinner last night, and they do not do what I do for a living. In fact, this man is a carpenter, and he sometimes works in restaurants, but more than anything, he's a carpenter. And he came over, and I said, "Hey, what do you know about this Diddy case?" Right? And he said, I don't. Everything he's heard from terrestrial. He's not getting his stuff on the internet. He's getting his stuff by the people that that pass it down to him. But even he was pissed. He goes, man, it's music industry, right? Hollywood, all of it's got to make you sick. And I go, yeah, you've been looking this up on the internet or what? And he goes, no. And then I started to tell him a little bit about some of the stuff that's going on, and his jaw dropped, right? Literally dropped. And the reason I'm telling you this isn't because I was able to make his jaw drop. The reason I'm telling you this is I never would have had that conversation with someone at dinner. It's never. It was a jacked up conversation for a dinner party. But the world is ready to have conversations that suck. They are. Want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. I will be alone packing for my move, but I plan on spending time with all of you. Well, you won't be alone. We don't. You keep getting cut out of the live chat? No, that's not happening, is it? Joe Mama, I promise you I'm not doing it. I would never do that to you. You're not going to be alone. The Lifeboat will be putting shows out on Christmas Day. This is what I do. We're going to be doing this all through the holidays. There's not going to be a day where there won't be content on the Lifeboat. We may not have people standing next to us. And for some of us, that's not a possibility. We have friends on the Lifeboat who are never going to be to be able to get out of the beds that they're in. And that's the reality of the world that they live in. We can, however, visit them. And, this is what the people that designed this silly interweb thing, when they started talking about it back in the day, this is no joke what they were talking about. They were talking about the opportunity for people. Hey, Rich. Hey, Tara. Where are you moving? I assume you're talking to Motherbird, because I'm not moving my butt from this couch. No, I knew you didn't, Joe Mama. I just want you to stick around. I hope it's on your end. The chat stops and freezes from time to time, says Tommy Bird. Well, I apologize, but I will tell you this, right? Outside the house currently, have you ever seen the little satellite dishes that you can get to make sure that your internet goes a little bit faster? Like the ones that you actually get mounted so you're not doing any of that terrestrial kind of stuff? Okay. Have you ever seen the ones that they use to look for life out in the universe, the SETI ones, right? It's like, 900 yards across. They just dug these deep pits and kind of poured concrete into them, kind of a thing, to make these big. Yeah, I have one bigger than that. Yeah. It's like 9 miles in every direction is just a large satellite dish, and the house is sitting in the middle of it. I can't back that up. But what I can tell you is this. It was really bad for a long time, and I went in, and when I finally upgraded the last time, because I had upgraded, and then I was like, okay, maybe a little more. Hello, Vanessa. I'd be like, upgraded a little more. Can we go a little bit faster than that? Now, when I went in the last time, I was like, I want the package that the guy that owns this company has. For real. I want the package that the dude that owns this company has at his house. If my internet's not as fast as his, I'm going to find somewhere else. And it honestly, it's 3 times what I was paying. But I've had no problems. Thank you, Sharon. I'm going to pop in. I think everyone, if you have an opportunity to pop in, people write all the time and they go, I wish there was something that I could do to help. Pop in, especially during times like the holidays when there are people out there having a hard time, right? Yes, that is dedication to being nosy, is it not? That's dedication. Charlie Mullins, Anna, don't get him started, please. Come on, man. You don't want to get him started. Your sister is named Vanessa? Aw, see that? You're making Tommy Bird think of his sister. What a beautiful thing. So, quick recap. This man is going to blame the witnesses. He's also going to talk about how their stories changed. I know that it makes you want to kill someone when they accuse someone who they have assaulted for this kind of stuff. Once again, it is standard operating procedure. It will find 0 traction, right? Let me explain something, and this is a fact. We occasionally come across cases like Danny Masterson, or we come across a case like Diddy or whatever, and we're following it. But the courts, right? For the courts, it's just like the checkout girl at Walmart, right? For the courts, it's one after another, after another, after another, while we're not following heinous cases because the person that did its name is Smith instead of Combs, right? Every day they're looking at these things. So when a victim, male or female, screws up something by 4 months, or the details of the account are really sketchy, and maybe they told the story and it didn't quite match twice, but the event, right? The memory of what happened to them, that part doesn't change. It's crystal clear. And the court realizes, because they've done this for decades, right, that's normal as hell. Because we are tourists in this game and we stop in every once in a while, we start to, we go, oh yeah, that girl said the first time that the guy was wearing Nikes, and now she said they might have been Reeboks. Liar! Right? But the people that do this for a living realize that means nothing. That's not important stuff. It really isn't. Now, they got a key on stupid crap like that because they got nothing else. You always can figure, for real. We talked about Voldemort last night, right? Show me what they're yelling about. Tell me what it is they're yelling about, because they're all going to yell. But the ones that, if you can give me a good idea what they're yelling about, I can tell you how full of crap they are. Are they talking about the issue, right? Or are they clouding this up? Now we're talking about the attorney. Let's talk about whether or not the attorney has herpes. Okay? Did he give some girl the clap? Right? Let's talk about that. Why? Well, because the rest of it is devastating to my case. Damn, I wish my girlfriend was here. She would have laughed so hard at that. But you know what I'm saying? The rest of it he can't bring out. He can't defend himself on the merits of the case. So he's going to trash the lawyer. Danny Masterson can't fight an appeal on the merits of this case because his lawyer, like it or not, did a good job. He's not going to be able to go in and say, well, it's ineffective counsel. His lawyer did a fine job. So what are you going to attack? There's nothing there. It's a solid case. Guess what? Guess what? The judge wasn't biased one way or the other. The judge was down the middle. The rulings were fair. There's nobody that can scream, this case sucked because of. So he's going to attack the credibility of the Jane Does, which will not work. Then the other thing that they're going to do, which I swear to you, if I were Masterson, now he's not surfing the web, right? But I'm sure he's still got people on the street. I would be going ballistic because their biggest argument in this is, well, this was just a money grab. They had to take my client to court. If not, they couldn't sue. They get in there in front of the judge and the other attorney goes up and goes, no, Your Honor, that's actually BS. They could have. Here, let me show you the statute. And you realize that you paid these guys 6 figures to write this puppy up. And then you're standing there going, really? I know the feeling, right? As most of you know, I wasn't born Tommy Scoville, right? My first name was Brett, B-R-E-T-T. And I was going in for a sentencing. And the woman who represented me as an attorney, they found out we had developed a relationship together. So I was forced to hire a different attorney. She was no longer allowed to represent me. And I needed her I needed the new attorney for 1 day. My fiance then at the time, the girl I ended up marrying, we're no longer together. But the girl that I ended up marrying, she had done all of the work. Everything was ready to go. Big bow on it. I just needed an attorney to be able to stand up there and say, hey, here's what's in this. I could have done it myself. And the attorney gets up and says, Your Honor, Brent. And I went, oh, are you woofing me? It was like $18,000 I paid this jackwagon for 1 day. And the only thing he needed to do was get my name right and didn't. It hurt my feelings. To be honest with you. Kind of hurt my feelings. Like Surstroming. You got ick out of that, Judge? Hey, bro. You gave me the clap 9 years ago. Just bringing it up. Yeah, well, maybe they're bringing it up now. It's just so funny, right? It's so transparent. By the way, I got a chance to play a little bit last night with the Busby thing. Yeah, they got them on tape, right? I'm not even saying allegedly anymore, unless it's. I mean, I'll say allegedly, I guess, because it's my stock and trade at this point. But allegedly, Busby has the agents of Voldemort, of he who shall not be trusted, he who shall not be, that dude. Voldemort's agents, he's got them on tape talking to these people and offering them bribes to try to take a run at the Marine from Houston, Texas. Busby, Esquire. Yeah, Diz, I'm not going to argue with you, bro. You're 100% right. So, just real quickly. Now, he's going to try to get back into court. This appeal has not gone through yet, and it's not gonna. Right? They're not even going to accept this appeal. I promise. My experience has been, and I'm a low-life hack, but I used to have to write my own appeals and do all of those things. If I was doing anything inside, I had to do it myself. And they'll say to you, we want the brief 2,000 words, or we want whatever, 2,500 words. If I was 2,590 words, they weren't taking my stuff. Like they were serious about, this thing's too long, you're done. 59,000 when they wanted 25.5. They're not taking that, man. Hey, good for you. Piano Mom says, Piano Mom in the house. Played with my local friends, a magical concert last night. Barnmate. I love that. I love that. Just really quickly, and then I'll get back to Masterson, I promise. All right, Snake. Just real quickly. There's a ski area in the Northeast called Suicide 6. And on the backside of Suicide 6 is a trail that they call the Gully. And when I was growing up, there was a little warming hut that you could ski down, and you could stop there, and they would have a fire burning. And some weekends they would have hot cocoa in there. It was very old. Nobody does stuff like this anymore. It was the old ski area stuff from the 70s. And as I got older, a friend of mine actually moved into the Gully house. I don't know how he pulled that off, but he lived in the Gully house, and he and his friends, local guys, started a little band up, and they called themselves the Gully Boys. And I bring that up because it's a fun part of the country. I know where she lives. Yeah, right. From your lips to God's ears, right? I need my own show. We can call it Allegedly. Yep. Now, Danny Masterson's brief is never going to get him in. That appeal is not going to get before a judge unless they dramatically trim that bad boy down. And it's going to be interesting to see what they pare down, right? If his attorney's got this much on the ball, he's listening to people who are doing videos. And he's going to hear a lot of people a lot smarter than me, right? You know who will kill him? Emily D. Baker will kill him. Wait till Emily D. Baker gets a load of this appeal, right? Because she's a beast. But when she gets a hold of this appeal, and I can't wait to watch that video, I won't miss it. But this is embarrassing. In my opinion, this is embarrassing, right? And someone said, they're getting over on him for a lot of money. And hey, Liz, good to see you. Lisa Rather, I'm glad that you're here catching a live stream. All right. I really am looking forward to seeing what the pros say about this. This is a lot of money. He paid this is not like, oh, here's your court-appointed attorney. This is a high-dollar appellate attorney. That's what this guy does. And they were, as I said, already in the court the day of sentencing. Really bizarre to me that this is the best they could come up with. However, it speaks highly of the system, the judicial system. No joke, right? A lot of times we beat the hell out of it. But like Subramanian, right? We're all following the Diddy case. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. When Judge Subramanian just had the bail hearing, and he went for hours, right? Local people, like pundits, are going, "What the hell takes 2 hours to do a bail hearing?" There's not gonna be anything you can appeal. You do it right, and the appellate lawyers go, "There's not much I can really do with this. Like, where do I go? Everything is perfect." You have to have that crack, right, in the mortar that you can start working into. On the Masterson case, it's not there. It's not, right? The witnesses were incredibly believable, heart-wrenchingly so. The victim impact statements, I swear to God, changed my life. And I'm not being even slightly facetious. I have a very different opinion on everything everything having to do with Jane Doe's, with like the Diddy case is different because of the Masterson case. If I didn't cover Masterson, I probably wouldn't be covering Diddy. But there is just something so damn disturbing, right? It's so easy to read Jane Doe in a newspaper or read Jane Doe in an article. And, when you get a chance to meet one of them and you realize the balls, no other way to say it, right? The guts, right, that it takes to do what they did. And like I said, I stood with them at a protest, and 99.5 out of 100 people who drove by, shouted support, but the ones that didn't, right? It's just a very, very difficult thing. And if you followed the Masterson case at all, there was an assault that took place at a crap restaurant, right? La Belle, right across the street from the Celebrity Center. Allegedly, they know all about everything that goes on in there, and they let it go on. And I'll tell you what, they sure as hell treated us like a pack of scumbags when we got there. You should have seen them. If you ever happen to go by, You know, stop in there, check out the menu, decide not to eat, and then maybe defecate on the bathroom floor. I'm kidding. I don't really mean that. I don't mean that. I would never encourage anyone to do anything remotely like that. It's bad taste. You know what I mean? They're not good people, so I said something stupid. So I don't really want you to do that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel engaged. Yeah, I think predatory is probably a great way to put it. I think it's probably an absolutely great way to put it because that is who and what these people are, right? That is who and what these people are. And the saddest part, thank you, Piano Mom. She's tossing those babies out there like hot sauce packets. The part of this that keeps coming back again and again and again and again. Poor people do this. People without cash, SA people. Happens every day, right? Then they get caught, they get arrested, they go to jail, they go to the penitentiary where guys kick the crap out of them and make their life hell. Rich people do it as well, right? Then they get caught, they get a really good lawyer, right? They get off. They get caught again. This time they know they're not going to get off with a lawyer, so they offer the family an absolute fortune, and they decide not to press charges. And the guy moves to another state where he starts up again. Only this time he's a little better. Now he's a little bit better at who he can get away with, right? Who's going to take the payout, who's not. And then it just starts to snowball and snowball. This is a money thing lately, isn't it? That's not to say that money turns men into people who SA, but it sure as hell takes someone who is that kind of a human being and turns them into a very different kind of monster. And you know what? This isn't a theory. We got a nice snapshot into the minds of the scum, right? In these three brothers out of Florida. Now, allegedly, they did this the first time in high school. They weren't successful tycoons at that point. They were just living on mom and dad's bazillions. But money, right, has allowed these three people to do this from high school, throughout college, into their careers, decades. And there's a paradigm shift coming. And you know what? I'm not saying, get your pitchforks, we're going after the rich. It's not at all what I'm saying, okay? It's not. But we can be very judicious with our cash and decide where it goes, right? And who it benefits. We can. This is a real thing. In fact, last night, Carpenter was over here eating for dinner. And the carpenter said, there is a new theater in town. And I said, I don't go to movies because of my traumatic brain injury, right? I can't. But I wouldn't want to go and see a film. He said, no. These are classic. These are movies from like the the 80s and films you've all seen, and they're edited different. And I went, oh yeah, man, I could do that. I could do that. And I was about out the door, not literally, because he was inviting me for the following week, but I found myself going, yeah, I could do. No, I can't. No, I can't. They're not showing those movies for free, right? Some of that's going to Warner Brothers, some of that's going to whoever, and I'm out. I'm out. Not another dollar is going to go to that part of the world on purpose. I learned from childhood money can hide a lot of evil. I'm sorry that you learned that, but it can. It absolutely can. But do you know something? And this is the truth. This is the absolute truth. These people have wealth that none of us can imagine, right? Oh, way more money than you can possibly imagine. I don't know. What if you had an audience of 200,000 people? What if you had an audience of 1.5 million people? And you honestly did get those 1.5 to go, I'm not helping these punks out anymore. I'm not giving them another dollar because I'm never going to have an audience of 1.5 million people. But if everybody took this thing in their hand, right, and said, I got 200 people on my friends contact list in here. I'm not going to talk to any of them ever again that I don't say, hey, you're not supporting any of these scumbags, are you? You're not letting any of your money end up in places like that, are you? Right? Hey, you know something? Hey, you've done time, haven't you? You're a convict, aren't you? Next on Allegedly, P. Diddy goes on a hunger strike, lubes himself up with baby oil, and slips through prison bars and escapes. I know there's no bars at Camp Snoopy. You're right. There are no bars at Camp Snoopy. But he's not quite at Camp Snoopy yet. Sort of, though. He sort of is. Love the truth you stand on. Blessings for a beautiful holiday. Thank you so much. It's going to be a great holiday, I promise. We're all going to spend it together. You're going to see. It's going to be a hell of a holiday. Money in idle hands. Absolutely. We're more powerful than they are. We're way more powerful than they are. Except when we go and scatter. And I don't mean literally. I mean figuratively. When you've got 5-10 million people who go, who cares? Like, I'm not even looking at this. Why do I care? This is Hollywood. It's got nothing to do with me, right? We could take that. Sweep them out. Nothing to it. But when you got 300 million people that go, who cares? That's what's happened for the last 3 decades. I don't think it's going to happen anymore. I don't think it's going to happen anymore. But it isn't. Actually, it's just pictures with dead presidents' faces on it, right? Fiat currency. And it represents some form of something so that we have the ability to go out and transact and do business, private and otherwise. The love of money is the root of all evil. And that's actually what it says in the book. It doesn't say that money is the root of all evil. It says that the love of money is the root of all evil. Sadly, I love money. But I've gotten a lot better about it. I mean it. I've gotten a lot better at it. It used to really be an issue for me. These days, I get paid differently. And this pays way more fun. I'm not joking. I really am not joking. I would rather get paid with that warm and fuzzy that you get. It's fantastic. Tommy, do you think Diddy is going to lose weight or gain weight in prison? Right now, he's going to lose a ton of weight because the store list, right, the canteen list that he can go and buy, you can cook for yourself. If you got all kinds of money, you can cook for yourself in there. Now, you're limited, right? You can't. It's not like going to a grocery store. There's protein that you can buy. They call them meat chubs. They're just like what you would get in a Christmas package, summer sausage or whatever, wrapped usually in like a plastic kind of a covering casing on the outside. You can buy those. And then you can buy some soy kind of fake meat, right? So that you can make like taco meat and stuff like that. Very limited in that. And then there are some microwave meals. Of course, we don't have microwaves, so you got to take them and put them in boiling water inside their packets for a while. But there's like beef stew. There's things that he won't be big pimping, but he'll have a lot of money. And if you don't go to the chow hall, idle hands, guys just sit around and cook all day. They cook all day long. They'll eat 4 or 5 times, and it becomes a social thing. The guy, Diesel Therapy, my friend Diesel Therapy, you'll see him in the chat. I did time with him. Not Casper, my other friend. And he was 380 pounds, 370 pounds, just from crushing. They would call them nacho bowls, and he would make one a day. And I swear to you, there must have had 10,000 calories in one. I've never seen anything like it. There would be a dozen soups, man. A dozen soups, right? That's just your base, right? 12 soups. He was an animal. And he dropped all of it. Got down. What prison is Masterson in and what kind of yard is he on? He is on a special needs yard. I can't remember the name of it. It'll come to me in a second, though. I don't use notes. Somebody asked me that yesterday. Do I have notes up all of it? I don't use any notes. I don't. And usually I remember, maybe I should have used the note for this because I haven't done Masterson in a long time. But he's at a special needs yard. Now, what is a special needs yard? You got to get this thing out of your head that there is this PC yard full of, grapos and chomos. And that's all that's there. And they walk around going, oh, you're a weirdo that hurts kids? Yeah, me too. Come on by the cell. Let's hang out. Those don't exist, right? They don't. Special needs yards are for people that can't be in with other people. There's a lot of reasons why a cat can't be around other people. Right? One of them is the fact that they're a grapist, right? Or that they're a chomo and they touch kids or whatever. Those things will absolutely keep you from being on a normal yard. You'll have to be on a special needs yard to be protected. if you ratted out a bunch of people, right, then you're not going to be able to go into general population. If you worked with the feds or with the state on your case, you can't go into general population, right? Well, those guys are all punks. You ain't got to worry about them, right? They're all soft. Like Sammy the Bull. You wouldn't worry about him, would you? You feel me? Just because you end up on a special needs yard doesn't mean you're not a killer. I do shows with a cat named Casper. Casper was I will not say the name of the organization that he was with, but he was with a group of guys that are fond of the swastika, keeping it real, right? It's one of their symbols, and he was very active in this gang and got sent out to go do a hit on someone, and just like happened to me, they got the wrong guy. Now, I don't mean that they picked the wrong dude. They hit the guy they were supposed to hit, only to find out they should have never gone after that guy. Now, you think the guy that sent them is going to say, ooh, I made a mistake? No. He put it on the two guys he sent. Next thing you know, they can either prepare to die, because everywhere they go, their own people are looking for them, or they can go to a special needs yard. Doesn't make them any less dangerous. So currently, Danny Masterson is on a yard. It's a special needs yard. And I'm sure he's paying a hell of a lot of people rent. And he's got money. Shouldn't be a problem for him. And prison money and street money are really different. If he spends $5,000 a month, 60 grand a year, you got any idea? Yeah, any idea just how much love you could buy with $5 grand a month putting on people's books? The trouble is, you're going to get somebody that shows up there, especially because of the car that he's in, especially because this dude's a white boy. He's going to get somebody that's on that yard that was a gangbanger 2 weeks ago, right? Member of one of those particular organizations that are very fond of each other, brother-like. And that person will end up on that yard and go, I'm not walking the yard with that freak. And they're going to go, well, he's kind of been, I don't care what he's doing, right? I ain't walking the yard with that freak. And at that point, he'll handle it. Is Casper still a fan of the swastika? He is not. He is not. And he would be the first to tell you that if he could go back, he would like those not to be on his body. But I knew him when. Yeah. When I knew Casper, he was active as hell in his gang. He was super active. He was doing it. And he didn't hate anybody then. He didn't. Casper was never that dude. Right? He was, as he said on one of the shows, a white dude can't tattoo on a person of another race, especially if they're a gangbanger. If they're not in a gang, they can do whatever they want. But a white dude in a gang cannot blast on someone that is not, right? And you know what? He did. He tattooed out. He was forever sneaking into somebody else's unit to do a back piece on a black dude. He did talk about wanting to cover up those tats, and he probably will. His brother's either girlfriend or wife is Jewish, and I remember that being painful for him. You know what I mean? He doesn't have a hater bone in his body. Sadly, a lot of guys that join these things don't hate anybody. But they're looking for protection and they're looking for camaraderie. If you end up on a vicious ass yard, right? You end up on a really, really vicious yard. Very often, you feel like you have to have people to have your back. He is a very solid dude, and I'll tell you something. I did time with a guy, and just in case he's watching, I'm going to use his name because I'm only using it nicely anyway. Did time with a guy named Richard, and we were in the special management unit together. When I got to the second phase, they said, "This is Rick, right? Rick Siebert. He's going to be your cellmate." And I go, "Yo, I'm supposed to have days because they let you out one at a time and you can go up and meet everybody, right? Because they don't want fights. They want you to be able to be with somebody." And I go, "Hey, man, how about letting me pick a cellmate? What the hell is that all about?" And he goes, "Well, we have 1,100 people here and 2 of them aren't in a gang." And I went, "Oh, so that's my cellmate." Hey, Rick. And we ended up being really, really, really close. But if he wasn't there, he was also about 9 years older than me, and he had been down for 10 years longer than I had. And we were getting out within about 7 months of each other. But I didn't tip up. I didn't join a gang because I had a guy that had my back. if he wasn't there, I would have been very, very alone. It would have been rugged. And I understand guys that tip up. I never ever have badmouthed anyone for doing it. It's not for me. And it's not, I don't judge it. I just know I'll get killed. If I would have joined any of those operations, I would have ended up getting bumped off because I can't stop my mouth. I'm bad at that. And you better be really good at not shooting your mouth off. Hello, Holly. And I'm not. I will run my jibs like there's no tomorrow and get myself in all kinds of trouble. You know what, Zero? I get it. And this is probably as good a way as you can say it, right? Most of us can't explain it on the outside because it just doesn't make sense out here. It doesn't. Again, I promise you, if you saw Casper without a shirt on, you'd go, oh my God. I mean, his first swallows, he's that big. It takes up, I shouldn't say that I haven't seen it in a decade. It was that big the last time I saw it, unless he figured out a way to do a cover. And he's got multiple. You understand, every time that you have to go out and get in a fight, or you get out and put work in, or you take care of somebody or whatever, you get more ink. So he's got a decent amount of it. And there's just no hate attached to it. And it's hard to make people understand that, believe it or not, there's a lot of guys in there like that. A lot. They were there because the protection was essential and they needed to have a car, so to speak. But they don't hate anybody. You know, here's the thing. If I was going to tip up, it would have been the last time. It wouldn't have been the first time. It wouldn't have been the second time. Things were really changing inside. And you were just a lot better off, honestly, if you had that kind of representation. But I met Q, right? I met Q, and it would have just been really hard at the whole initiation thing. Hey, my best friend's black. Is that going to be an issue? We're pretty tight. Is that I don't think they'd have let me in. In fact, I'm damn sure they wouldn't have. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. I mean that. Thank you so much. It never ceases to amaze me. Shadow, thank you. The kindness and the generosity. I really do appreciate you all. And I really hope this is going to be a decent Christmas for all of us. If you're feeling upset, if you're feeling lonely, I want you to come here, with the exception of a couple of folks, right? Danny Masterson, if you've happened to have got yourself a cell phone, I don't want you spending any holiday time with us. Not a good person, peeps. Not a good person. And you know what's funny to me? An absolute 100% freaking hypocrite. Doesn't believe anything. If that cat believed, why is he still with us? I know that sounds cold-hearted, right? But if you understand Scientology, all he's got to do is drop that body and go get him another one, right? This life didn't work out. You screwed up pretty good. Right? Handle your business and go get another one. Do you know how many people, when I was out at the trial, all these cats came up and said, don't trip. He'll be gone within 2 or 3 weeks of being in there. He's a believer. This dude's a believer. He's going to get in there and, pull the plug. He's going to go get him a new body, right? That day he'll be born and going into some other kid, getting ready to find his way back to the celebrity center to maybe, catch him maybe he'll be an actor this next time around, right? He's learned, he's evolved. I don't really get the feeling he learned much or evolved much. Shannon, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Yeah, if you're part of the car, you have to put work in. That is absolutely a fact. In fact, even if you're not part of the car, tip up means to join an organization. I'm sorry, Kestrel. I was not part of, I didn't join a gang, right? But I was a white dude. So when I got to the yard, like Victorville says, you're going to have to go put work in. And what you're showing them is that you're down for the cause. Like if a riot came off or whatever, you're not, the term they use is pumping Kool-Aid. They want to know that there's blood going through your heart. And it isn't Kool-Aid. Other places, instead of doing that, they will send somebody into the cell for what they call a gut check. So a guy will come walking in and be like, hey man, when'd you get here? About 10 minutes ago, just got off the bus. Yeah, where are you coming in from? Wherever, right? I was coming in from Texas. I was at Beaumont. Oh, really? Yeah, what unit were you in at Beaumont? 4. Yeah, I might have been warned you were coming, dude. You're a rat? Supposedly there's a rat coming from, now you can't take that crap. It's not punk and it's not bitch. So it's not fire instantly, right? But he's pushing your buttons and he's there to see if he can. And a lot of times it'll be enough for a person to bow up and go, what'd you just say, dude? And kind of get in the face. And then they'll go, hey, relax. You're kind of a gut check. But I've watched guys go in and start a fight to see if the dude would. And right around the time the guy's throwing the second punch, they're separating him, going, relax, relax. Very unusual world. Hey, Zero, you're missing it, aren't you? Man, I sure miss it. Yeah, like a herpes sore. Nothing I hate more than hypocrisy. I might not agree, but I respect real convictions. Can't stand the hypocrite. Me either, man. Me either. I'm not a fan of the hypocrite. So, yeah, wouldn't bust a grape. Wouldn't bust a grape in a food fight. Certain things that people say all the time. I don't care what prison you're at. Somebody saying that dude wouldn't bust a grape. I don't care what prison you're at. You heard that one, man. That's just funny, dude. That's so funny. So I will revisit this. I will be revisiting this because it is news, right? I'm going to keep you in the loop as to whether or not the judge takes this in the form it's in. However, if you're taking bets, I'd be willing to put a little money on the fact that the judge is going to go, I'm sorry, 59,000? Is that what you said? 58,000 words? Yeah, no. Right? Brief. Does the term brief mean anything to you? This is so overdone. It's so over the top. It's word salad. It's absolute BS. There's just nothing there. Samantha, you're okay. Yeah, Chris. Here's the thing. There's one of the other really funny things about doing time, and I'm tomorrow night we're on with Russ and Casper. Will be doing Night Yard, and a lot of fun. We talk about all things prison. But when you go to state prison, every jackass you meet in the States will say, yeah, my crime partner, Bob, whatever, like we got busted together, but his was a Fed beef. Right? He had a pew. So it made it a federal offense and he went to the feds. Dude, so lucky. And then you hear these stories and the stories are so ridiculous, right? Guys are like, oh, yeah, I know. I did time in the feds. They had a swimming pool at the prison I was at. What? You had a pool? Man, you couldn't have a pool at a prison. Are you kidding me, man? Like people would be dead instantly. Guys would be drowning one another. I'm like, they had a pool? And you'd hear these stories that were just so outlandish. I had a guy, no joke, sit in my cell and say to me, no, in the feds, they use silverware. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Silverware? He's like, knife, fork. I'm like, they give you a knife in a prison. And straight face, this dude's going, no, for real, man. For real. Then you get there, right? I did a state beef. In the state, I had a job where I was running the drug program. I was the head mentor in the drug program, which basically meant handing out clothing to the people that came in and teaching a couple of classes, just kind of reading out of a book. But because I did that, I had a single cell, right? My single cell had a wooden table in it with a desk lamp. Like it sucked. It was prison. But I had a single cell, man. There was nobody in there with me. And there wasn't even another bunk. I got a single cell with a bunk on the floor. It was pimping. And they were sliders. So the door didn't slam shut. It slid shut. And a big magnet grips it until they throw a switch and then everybody's door opens. Well, they took cans of chewing tobacco and they would put the cup and glue it there. So those doors never locked. I could open that thing at 2 o'clock in the morning, walk down the hall, jump in the shower. To go from that, which I thought, this sucks. And I got people in there going, yeah, man, you really wish you were doing Fed time. So much nicer than this. And then I did my first time in the feds and got there and went, I'm sorry, what? No TVs. Can't have a TV in your cell. Can't have video games. And I know you shouldn't have this anyway, but the state joints do. You can't have tobacco. When I did my state rip, you could buy cigarettes or chewing tobacco. They didn't care. And if you didn't have cash, if you were indigent, they would give you roll your owns. It was just a different animal all the way together. And you guys sit in their cells and they watch the television set, right? Their TV on cable in their cell. Nobody messes with them. Man, weight piles. When I did my time in the state, there were 4 weight piles on that yard. we had the three corners had a weight pile in it, and one had the whole gym, and inside that we had an indoor weight pile. It was everywhere. Colby Covington. Are we just yelling names out? Words of the day? I'm kidding, but I do. So Colby Covington lambasted the diddler. Oh, I'm sorry, the basketball player. He lambasted LeBron, King James. You guys know. They gave inmates vapes in Scotland. Great idea. And mobile phones. Good God in heaven. It was Colby, Mr. Wrong. At his press conference, he came out and he said, hey, I'm the man of the hour. Let's see if I still got this thing pulled up. I might be able to read you the entire thing. Because it's pretty slick, man. Honestly, I was happy as hell with it. We're getting to the point where there are people ready to step up to the plate and start talking about the, there it is. I'm going to start this off, says Colby Covington. You know, since I'm the man of the hour, man of the show, I want to ask LeBron, what does he mean by there's no party like a Diddy party? I truly want to know. And not only that, LeBron, how many Diddy parties have you actually been to? I'm really curious to know. And is that the reason you left social media? Because all the backlash you were getting for going to so many of these Diddy parties? It's pathetic, man. People think this guy's a role model. He wants to defund the police and the most patriotic people in America, serving and protecting our country. LeBron, you're an effing scumbag, and I hope you get locked up in the same cell with Diddy. Giggity. You got to be impressed with a guy that just chooses that as his. Hey, by the way, Gus Bilrakis. Everybody, you guys know Gus? Gus Bilrakis? That's all right. If you don't, I'm going to be making him famous in the next little bit anyway. Stick around. I promise. I don't think he's a good person, so we're gonna take a run at Gus Bilrakis. He's a politician, and regardless of what side of that of the political aisle you're on, this guy ought to make you sick. Bad people. Royal Order of Jesters in good standing, by the way. Danny Masterson submitted a massive oversized appeal brief in his California R case Wednesday, challenged the credibility of his victims, and claims a series of trial court errors requires the reversal of his 23 conviction. 246-page filing. That's a book. What are you kidding me? 246-page filing obtained by Rolling Stone is yet to be accepted by the state, and it's not going to be. Sentence of 30 years. The court denies if the court denies his request to extend his word limit, the brief will need to be cut in half. His appellate lawyer, Cliff Gardner, tells Rolling Stone, as it stands, the brief is 59,850 words. The limit supposed to be 25,005. Gardner, whose other clients include the Menendez brothers, Lyle and Eric, shared the brief on his website along with a statement claiming he was working towards Danny's complete exoneration. Going to be any complete exoneration. He claimed the state's prosecution of the actor best known for his role in that 70s show had two fundamental flaws. The trial was rife with errors and erroneous judicial rulings that skewered the jury's view of the evidence against him. And there was a stunning amount of exculpatory evidence which was never presented to the jury, Gardner said, because they died. Kind of a bummer. He added that a separate petition known as a writ of habeas corpus would soon be filed by a different appellate lawyer and would document additional defects in the trial process while requesting Masterson's release. By the way, if by some chance this got legs, that's exactly what they would do. If you are granted a new trial, they assume, just like last time, hey, he got out on bail, everything was good, he's got a new trial, we release him. That is what they do. It's not going to happen. I promise you it's not. If it does, no one on planet Earth will be more shocked than me. This is a lawyer that I don't think can be bought. I sound like an ass, right? But that's what this would take. This guy's dead, cold, disgusted, busted, man. Masterson, a prominent Scientologist in good standing. He's not. I just like saying that. I don't even know if he's in good standing or not. You would think that they would have made the guy an SP and kicked his ass out, but They're awfully hypocritical. My girl's an SP, though. They don't like her much. You guys know what an SP is? Give me a deuce in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I'll explain it. Masterson, a prominent Scientologist, was charged in 2020 with forcibly R-ing 3 women on different occasions during the height of his sitcom fame in the early 2000s. An initial trial ended with a hung jury, but the follow-up jury found him guilty of R-ing 2 of the Jane Does. Both trials included emotional testimony from the 3 women. They all said Masterson used chemicals on them before forcibly R-ing them. They were practicing Scientologists at the time and testified the Church of Scientology officially protected Masterson. This, by the way, is one of my all-time favorite pet peeves, right? On the planet. One of my all-time favorite pet peeves are the people that went, why did it take the Jane Does so long to... It didn't. They reported it right after it happened. They did. Didn't take years. They reported it when it happened. They just didn't report it to the police because that's not what you do. That's not the world that they live in. Within the structure of the world that they live in, they did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they did it like that. You understand? I mean, quick as hell, man. More sports stars grow a pair. I love that comment. I love that comment. Well, we are starting to see it, man. We're starting to see some people that are beginning to develop onions. And I think that the longer this goes on, the more of them we're going to see. In his new appellate brief, Masterson alleges the 2 women had evolving stories that changed dramatically over the years. He claims that while one of the Jane Does reported her R to police in 2004, it wasn't until 13 years later that she claimed for the first time that Masterson used a pew-pew during the attack. This, again, is something that is worthy of commenting on. These people were Scientologists, right? And he knows the reluctance of any of these people to do something like mention the, right? They didn't want to do anything that was going to get them in trouble with the cult. This is so complex. It really is. It's so complex. It's incredible. But do me a favor and default once again to the, hey, let's be a human being, especially if you don't understand Scientology, because this is a very rugged cult, right? They have an ethics department. They've got their own cops. They've got, this is their world. This is their world. Danny Masterson agreed to mediation, right? So that there wouldn't be prosecution with one of the Jane Does. And his stipulation was he felt like he needed to hear her explain everything that he did to her. In other words, the sick bastard wanted a greatest hits reel, but he wanted to hear it come out of her mouth. So what exactly did I do to you? How did it make you feel when it was going on? What happened after I put my hand over your mouth? I'm not kidding. Like, this is what this sicko wanted to have, and he got it. He got it. He had the ability to go in and sit down. And then afterwards, he paid young people, right, to harass one of the Jane Doe's daughters. This is a sick piece of shit who's going to spend Christmas exactly where he should be spending Christmas. By the way, Christmas in prison sucks. There's no way that anybody can ever pay enough for the crimes that he did. Seriously, you could spend about 10 minutes deep diving and you'd get a really, really good idea of how violent these were. They required hospitalization after some of them. This isn't, don't just think of somebody doing something to someone while they're unconscious. It wasn't that at all. This is violent and disgusting and horrific. Nothing about this, right? Nothing about this was run of the mill. This was extreme. This was violent. This was hateful. As always, this stuff is never about sex. It's about control. It's about anger. It's about violence. This is a bad, bad human being. And there are some sick individuals in the world, to be sure, Wolfie. On the bright side, On the bright side, a couple of them are going to be spending tonight and every other night behind bars where the people of our society are safe from them. And hopefully it will be a cautionary tale to the people that are going to come in and do things like make movies and make records and records, I'm old, and make music, right? That just because somebody has a dream and you have the ability to make it come true doesn't mean that you also have the right to act like you're some form of disgusting porn god that everybody has to, you know. At the trial, Jane Doe testified she told the police many details the officers allegedly neglected to include in their reports. Police did record Doe's initial police interview, but shocker, the LAPD lost the recording. Didn't see that coming, did you? Here's another one. I'm not going to say allegedly either. You want to talk about a crooked, disgusting police force, like maybe the worst on planet Earth? You could do a lot worse if you're looking for crappy track record than LAPD. And I have had very little interaction with them, and it was always sketchy. They absolutely, they're fond of the cult of Scientology. And if you don't think so, go do a little protest out of that celebrity center and watch how the cops come out. And I mean, obviously, cops come out to any kind of a protest. But I'm a convict, and I promise you, those cops showed up to protect that place, not to keep the peace. They were very, very open and in your face about the fact that they knew everybody there by name. These guys were all calling to the cops like, "Hey, Tom, how you doing? Glad you're here. Hey, good looking out. These scumbags got signs," like that kind of thing. It was disturbing at best. So much so that I actually heckled cops, and that's not my get down, right? And not because I'm a good person, but because I'm scared. I usually don't want to get arrested, but I got a criminal record and whatnot. I'm surprised you didn't know that. Got a slightly extensive, thing with the arrests and the whatnot. Hey, Tommy, please keep after the jesters. Prayers for you and Reese. Thank you. I appreciate that. The new phone, congratulations. You'll get it up to speed, Kristen, but I hope the new phone is crystal clear. Scientology has big cash, right? Yeah, big time. Big time they've got money. And the Popo is definitely on the payroll. I watched that. And I know that a lot of other people did. And do you believe this? Honest to God, do you believe this? How bad does this stink? Right? At the trial, Jane Doe testified. She told the police many details that officers allegedly neglected to include in their reports. You mean when they interviewed you about this rich Hollywood Scientologist doing something to you, they didn't really take everything you said down? There's a shocker. They didn't treat you with respect. They acted like he did. He was the good guy and you were the bad girl. That seems to make sense to me. Very Hollywoodish. Police did record Doe's initial police interview. But they can't let you hear that. It would be devastating to their case. But investigators lost the recordings by 2020. Well, then you're just not. I don't buy that shit. Nobody buys that. Masterson also argues in his brief that the trial court erred when it excluded evidence that the Jane Does had a strong financial incentive in obtaining criminal convictions for forcible R. The trial court excluded evidence showing that if the complaining witnesses obtained forcible R convictions against Masterson, state law would provide a new one-year window within which they could file R-based cases and cause of action, entitling them to dramatically greater damage awards than the existing lawsuit for harassment damages. There was also a law that had been passed that gave them a 2-year window back anyway. I don't know what this dude's smoking, right? Honestly, I don't know what Masterson's lawyer's on. But if you come across this and you are struggling, I'm not alleging you're on drugs. If you are, however, drop me an email, man. Seriously. In this day and age, it's probably an opioid, and you can get clean without going through withdrawal symptoms. Counselor, straight up, give me a call. email me or something because you need help, right? You got to be wasted. Did you look this stuff up? Don't you got like paralegals? You pay for that? Can't you go, hey, there's not like a 2-year thing that has already become a law, and I'm referencing this 1-year thing looking like an idiot, right? That's not out there, is it? I mean, wow. Entitling them to dramatically greater damage award for the existing lawsuit for harassment damages. And predictably, within 1 year of the criminal verdict, both Jane Does moved to amend their pending lawsuit to do just that. Well, there's a shocker. Everybody that goes to court and is successful in this will amend their lawsuit. Duh. Honestly, this is it's word salad. It kind of makes it look like, is Will Smith a Scientologist? No, isn't that a great question? I'm going to say, yeah, he is. Look at that. I'm going to say, yeah, he is, or yeah, he was. That's my opinion, people. Why do I say that? Well, because he and Jada opened up a school in California. The school got shut down. Why? Well, because they said it was a front as a way to recruit people into the cult of Scientology. No joke. That's what shut the school down. So if they're not Scientologists, it seems odd they would implement LRH's learning techniques at the school, which is exactly what they did. And also try to shepherd these people into things like auditing courses or communication courses or any of these things that they use to start you down the process of the bridge to total enlightenment. The bridge to total enlightenment, or the bridge to total freedom, or the bridge to, I don't know. There's a bridge involved. Anyone who tells me they're a Scientologist, I back away slow and say, please don't talk to my child. I think a lot of people probably feel that way. Estelle just subbed to Johnny Scoville. Well, you will thank me later. You may want to check out some of the videos that he has done with me where sadly I end up in the vomitous stage. Seems to happen a lot when I hang out with my brother. Elaine says, what up, chat? What did I miss? All right, everybody ready? Hey, everybody. I am Tommy, and you are on the lifeboat. We'll just take this from the top. Danny Masterson's appeal is not going to go through. He's going to spend the next 30 years in prison. He's spinning his wheels, talking about how there was a big financial motive in this, right? And that financial motive was if they didn't convict him, they wouldn't have been able to sue the way that they did. However, that's not the truth. A law had already been passed giving people a 2-year window back. So all that's out. The other thing that he's claiming is that the Jane Does had changed their stories versus, what had originally been said. Of course, we don't know what was originally said because the cops lost the original tapes. The guy's in prison. He's exactly where he is supposed to be. Bridge to being clear. Yeah. A bridge too far, says Joe Mama. Yeah. And like a bridge over piles of cash that you had to spend in order to go sit and hold on to 2 things that look like Red Bull cans while the person across the desk asks you if you ever wanted to have sex with your mom. And if you get angry, they'll say, ooh, what just happened? Let me ask that, phrase that question for you again. Have you ever wanted to diddle your mother? No joke. These are some sick people, man. Sick people. Sick people. Arabian Bard says a bridge to insanity, and she would know she's a survivor of that cult as well. We do have a lot of people on the lifeboat who have survived the cults of Scientology, and we're huge fans of all of them. I'm so impressed by people that can get away with something that is that difficult. 30 years for probably money crimes and child offense is not good enough. I agree with you. Not enough. On the bright side, people, you'd be surprised how often a 30-year sentence turns into a life sentence when you happen to have something on there about hurting women or children. Bad things happen to bad people. Not so much on the outside, but boy, oh boy, on the inside it does. Bill, agreed. Thank you for your service. We don't say that enough, but appreciate you more than you know. People, it's Saturday, and you know what that means. That means that this is the day that I rearrange my commemorative Elvis Presley plates, right from the Franklin Mint. Got the dust off of them, and no, wait a second. No, that's Sunday. This is Velvet Elvis Day, when I take all of my Velvet Elvis paintings in the garage, clean them off, and then bring a new one in. You always want a new one, and then you rotate it through on like a 30-day kind of a routine. Every 30 days, you swap one out. That way, you really only need about 12 good ones, like the Love Me Tender with the tear. Anyway, I'm going to be back later today. You have my word. It is always Catterday. It's always Catterday. Can I tell you a little rumor? The rumor is we have somebody that has a cat that is a rescue, and Johnny Scoville is working to try to acquire this rescue cat. Cat was injured and it required surgery and some other stuff, and Johnny Scoville may end up with this little miracle kitty, which will not end up being a miracle kitty for long, because this is a big breed. But we shall see. But that'll give us something to talk about. Stay close by, because big things are happening. By the way, there are I got another show that I got to do later on today. A lot of you have reached out to me and said, hey, there's this guy that puts up content. He has 3 initials, right, that he uses as a content creator. And he has trolled you often, meaning me, has talked crap about me, whatever. And they would like me to comment on his apparent demise. I don't do any content on content creators. And the only reason I'm saying this is because a lot of you reached out. I'm not going to do a story about someone who does what I do for a living, because to me, there's too much of that goes on this big red button anyway. Whatever that dude does, especially if what they do is negative stuff. Like, I'll talk about positive content creators. I'll talk about people that are doing good stuff. But even if someone's going down in flame, I'm not going to take any joy in that or talk about that. All it does is it pushes that person's people who know them. The last thing in the world I want to do is elevate any one of these people's. They're not visible. These are people that honestly, over the course of a year, they're going to get 100,000 views. That may sound like a lot. It's not. Over the course of a year, it means that basically nobody saw you, right? Nobody saw you. So I'm not going to bring any of these cats to light. I'm not going to do anything to get it to 1,050 views. I do have an audience, good people too. I'm not going to steer them in any direction but to other positive channels. Speaking of which, if you got a wrench, put a link up to Chase the Heat. That's my brother Johnny. If you've not subscribed over there, well, that would be a shocker, because he actually has a lot of subscribers. I think he's got about 5 times or 10 times more than I do. The hell that's all about. But he's got a lot more than I do. He's a big guy. I think he's got like 6 times, honestly, our base. Johnny's got a big channel. And the other one would be my girlfriend. That would be Relatable Reese, or as we like to call her, Real Table Reese. Deadhead, correct, man. Ain't no reason. Ain't no question. So do go by and check them out. We highlighted Reese here yesterday, and she talked a little bit about the cult of Scientology. You're going to hear her also talk about the Royal Order of Jesters here on the Lifeboat. I will be having her on to do a show about that. So we'll probably, I think she'll probably be doing some of it over on hers as well. So make sure you hit subscribe on all of those if you could. Between now and the next time I see you, reach out and to try to save somebody. And do me a favor, people. Remember, it's the holiday, right? Take 2 more seconds. When you're leaving a place, say Merry Christmas. For real, right? Ask your waiter their name. You ever waited on a table? Such a shocker when someone goes, "Oh, Tommy, I'm sorry." You go, "Holy hell, did you just say my name?" We live in an ugly world. Do what you can to make it a little bit brighter today. I'll see you on the next one, right? All right. Bye-bye.